welcome to Best Laid Plans. This is the podcast where we talk all things planning and planning adjacent, and this is your host, Sarah Hart-Unger. I am coming at you in the middle of December. We have just a few weeks left until the end of the year, and today's episode is our December Q&A episode. Don't worry, there will be time reserved for me talking all about 2026 systems as well as my goals for 2026. I did post a video of all the physical planners I'm going to be using for next year. Fun fact, we had to repost it due to some captioning issues, but the video is now back up and live, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes for this episode in case you missed it the first time around. That will allow you to see my whole planner stack in action. It's really the whole podcast episode, but with a bit of a visual. All right, so we're going to begin today's episode with a pro tip from someone who preferred to remain anonymous, but she wanted to respond to our listener who wrote in noting that they needed a planner with big numbers and dark print because of vision issues. And this is yet one more to add to the pile of fantastic suggestions you had for her. This one is called the See It Bigger Planner, and it's available at Target for just around $10. It is a 15-month planner, and it has a monthly planner at the beginning of each month. The print is really large and dark, and the whole thing is pretty big as well. It's almost 11 inches wide by 8 inches high. So if you continue to be looking for a planner where you can write as big as you want and you can see the numbers printed really large for you, this one is designed specifically for that purpose. So thank you so much for sending in that tip. Before we get to our questions, I have a shop to spotlight today. I've done this a few episodes ago, kind of sporadically. Maybe I'll try to make it a regular thing next year. But someone wrote to me, her name is Maria, and in addition to some very kind words, she noted a shop called Department of Note, or I think it's abbreviated DEPT of Note, that is located in Doylestown, PA, so about an hour outside of Philadelphia. And she writes that the shopkeeper sells wonderful paper products from the US, Japan, and Europe, writing tools, desk things, and more for your whole home, as well as body and self-care products. It's a home, desk, self-boutique and contains local and vintage products. She also admitted that this shop is owned by her sister, but I do not mind a biased review of a shop that sounds so fantastic. And I actually hope to make not an appearance, but I hope to check the store out when I visit Philadelphia, one of the times that I plan to head down there next year. I am from there. My parents and sisters still live there. So I tend to end up in the area at least a couple times per year. And I have written in my planner already to try to get to Department of Note. So thank you so much for submitting that hot tip to me. If you are listening to this and you have your own question or hot tip that you'd like to submit, I do want to remind you of the easiest ways to do that. Probably the very easiest is just to send me an email. I get emails from listeners all the time. I am not always great about responding immediately, but I always respond eventually. And it's a great place to send me your questions as they will end up processed in the queue. I don't answer every single question on the air, but I try to at least come up with an answer for you individually. My email is sarah.hart@gmail.com. Fun fact, with Google email addresses, you don't have to include the dot, but it's a little bit more easier to read that way, in my opinion. So sarah.hart@gmail.com, or you can text me at 305-697-7189. That is a Google Voice number, so you're not texting my actual phone. So feel free to do that at 2 a.m. if you'd like. It will send me an email. You can leave voice messages that way as well as texts. And if I respond to them in my email, you'll actually get the response as a text. So that's another really fun way to submit your questions. And let me know if you have a hot tip for a shop, a product, anything else. All right, we are going to move on to our first listener question of the day. And this one comes in from Jessica. She writes, I have one question for you out of curiosity. You mentioned archiving a lot of your read or non-essential messages rather than deleting. By the way, she's referring to the episode where I went through my email live on the air. That sounds a little funny, but don't worry, I don't actually read my actual emails. That episode is from a couple weeks ago. So if you're interested, it's still up. So she writes, I'm wondering if you archive everything or delete anything and how you decide which of these to do. She writes, I imagine I'd feel most comfortable archiving more personal or specific information while deleting promotions and outdated newsletters. But I'd love to hear how you approach this. Okay, well, I'm kind of, I don't want to say lazy, but when I am looking to clear my inbox, efficiency is my number one priority. rather than some sort of digital stewardship. So I actually archive everything. And that does mean that my Gmail accounts are paid accounts at this point. We actually also pay for photo storage through Google. So I don't think the pricing is terrible. I want to say it's something like $20 a year. Maybe it's $50 a year. I should probably relook this up, but it wasn't something horrifying. So I am comfortable just kind of letting that account be a very searchable archive. I do imagine that at some point, as AI tools get better and better, there might be great options for cleaning it out, although maybe Google won't be motivated to do this if they're charging for storage. But anyway, for right now, I just archive everything. Now, would I feel comfortable at this point just kind of like deleting everything? Maybe that I didn't respond to that's more than 5 years old? Sure. So I'm sure there'll be tools to maybe help winnow down my archives at some point. But right now, I just archive everything. I don't really bother with the delete button. And that way I can clear things out really quickly because I know I can search and find them again if I need to. So that's my answer. I do, as I say this, I'm like, well, the environmental impact of storing my extra data, but I feel like there's probably much bigger, impactful things that people can do rather than email archives to help our Earth. So as of now, I'm going to continue with my current practice. All right, we're going to get to one more question before we hit our break. And this one comes from Lisa. Actually, I'm going to do the break for my answer, but I'm going to tease what the question is. Lisa asks about my morning routine. She emailed and said, I was wondering if you can share your current morning routine with us during a Q&A episode. I love when you get into the nitty-gritty, like what time you wake up, the order in which you do things, etc. I find it inspiring and motivating. And I love this question. I love hearing about other people's morning routine. And I have to admit that my own current morning routine is in a little bit of a flux state right now. And so usually I can answer this type of a question really easily, but I've actually had to kind of think about my response. And part of the answer is going to be that it's a bit of a work in progress, but we're going to take a quick break and then I will be back chatting about my current morning routine. Today's episode is brought to you with support from Green Chef. One of my favorite things about this reflection and celebration season is the food. That makes it a fantastic time to try Green Chef. Not only because their meals are packed with warm and homey flavors, but because they're a convenient and healthy way to keep things balanced between events and festive weekends. Green Chef meals are made with real, clean ingredients, and they help you build lasting healthy habits without the hassle. In addition to delicious dinners, they also have salads ready in just 5 minutes, protein-filled breakfasts, and nutrient-rich smoothies to fuel your day. The recipe options change every week, and with week-to-week flexibility, you can adjust your plan to match your mood and your schedule. They really are family-friendly too. My kids are always so excited for our Green Chef dinners. Make this season your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50bestlaid and use the code 50bestlaid to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50bestlaid at greenchef.com/50bestlaid. Today's episode is brought to you with support from Mint Mobile. Both Mint Mobile and I want you to know that you don't have to let big wireless and your overpriced phone bill suck the joy out of the holidays this year. Because right now, all of Mint Mobile's unlimited plans are 50% off. You can get 3, 6, or 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 per month. It's their best deal of the year, so really a fantastic time to check it out. All of Mint Mobile's plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network, so you can keep your same number. And there are no contracts, so it can be a no-obligation experiment if you'd like it to be. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/BLP. That's mintmobile.com/BLP. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. More than 35 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Organize 365. As we approach the close of another year, I want to take a moment to honor you, the leader of your household, the cornerstone of your family, the multitasker, the caregiver, the friend, the professional, and the dreamer. You wear countless hats, and with every role you carry an invisible load. These tasks, decisions, and emotional labor sometimes even go by unseen by you, but they are never unfelt. This is the work that powers our lives. It's the unseen effort that keeps everything running, often at the cost of our own peace of mind or goals. But what if this invisible work didn't have to stay invisible? What if you could bring it to light, streamline it, and reclaim the energy it takes? The Sunday Basket is a natural partner for your weekly planning routine. The Sunday Basket contains and corrals all your ideas, paper notes, to-do lists, and mail safely until you are ready for your weekly planning time. Let this be the year you free your mind, lighten your load, and make your goals a reality. Together, let's make the invisible work visible. Visit organize365.com/sundaybasket to buy the Sunday Basket today. That's organize365.com/sundaybasket. All right, I am back. And as I mentioned, Lisa asked me to give a rundown of my current morning routine. And as I said, it's kind of in flux right now. And the biggest reason that it's in flux is that I have started to do something called morning pages. Morning pages come from a book by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way, which has been around for many decades now. It sounds like she got her career started in the 70s. Her book started as a correspondence course, which I kind of love, especially because my book kind of got its roots as a course. So I get where she's coming from. I think it helps to make material so much better when it's been kind of tried and gone through multiple rounds of real people using it. So I kind of lit up at her descriptions of that. But one of the things that she teaches about is this act of spending about 30 minutes in the morning doing 3 pages of longhand writing. And that writing can be about anything. It really should just be like stream of consciousness and not censor yourself, not designed to be read over again necessarily or kept, or you're not trying hard with this writing. You're just doing it. And I am someone, I've talked about it on this podcast in the past, how I used to do more journaling and kind of miss it. I did a lot of it when my kids were little, just like I would kind of get a notebook. I had this great one from the German company Nuna, where I would just like artistically draw out diagrams of like the things I wanted in life and just kind of freeform journal about what was going on and my hopes for the future. And it was really fun. And it kind of fed me during that time, which I found pretty stressful overall. And so I welcomed the idea that someone was actually telling me to bring journaling back into my life. And I started doing it using an A5 moleskin that I had lying around. It was one of the beautiful cherry blossom covers. And I do like moleskin paper. I've heard that it can be very temperamental and hit or miss, but this particular notebook seemed to work really well. And I was doing it in there. And then I just have had this like bug in my brain that I wanted to try this notebook called a Midori Hibino, which is a 2-page per day. So it basically has a full spread for each day, A6 size notebook with really nice paper. So you can imagine this book is small. Remember, A6 size is like it's like a quarter size basically of a letter size of an A4. It's not big, but it's also very chunky because we've got a 2-page spread 365 times. That's a lot of pages in this little book. And I don't know, there was something about it that just attracted me and I really wanted to try the paper. So I went ahead and one night I was probably having something stressful going on and I ordered it as one does. And it came and it's a 2026 dated book. So of course I was like, well, I really should wait till January 1st. But then I was like, what if I try it on January 1st and I hate this notebook? I'm going to be so disappointed. So it was something like November 25th or something like that. And I just went ahead and went to November 25th, 2026 and decided I was allowed to start using this notebook because, I mean, I am. And I really found it delightful to write in. I've been using actually the gel pens that I ordered with my Hobonichi this year. Probably one of the reasons that it took so long to get here is I ordered a set of 12 gel pens that are designed to match the Hobonichi colors. And they have they're Uniball 1 pens, I think in the 0.4 tip size, and they work really, really well with this Midori paper, which has a tiny, tiny, tiny dot grid. So if you do not write small, or if you are someone who doesn't write tiny but wants to follow lines, like this notebook is not for you. This notebook is for you if you want to release small space and to cram a ton of handwriting in, and you don't mind having lines that are just a few millimeters apart. I believe it's a 2-millimeter grid. So anyway, this notebook is an acquired taste, but it turns out I absolutely love it. It just like makes the whole experience feel a little bit more artistic for me, and it kind of slows me down, which maybe Julia Cameron wouldn't approve of, but sometimes my thoughts do need to be reined in a little bit. I also find myself just wanting to write lists and bullet points and things like that. It's because it's how I think. And I've just really, really enjoyed this practice. So this is a very long digression to say that my morning routine has really been disrupted because this does take me between 20 and 30 minutes most days. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable forever, but you may remember that I used to do 8-mile runs many mornings of the week, and I certainly don't do that anymore. In general, my exercise in the morning is limited to about 30 minutes, maybe 40 at the most. And so I do have more time than I used to. And right now, one of the things that's bringing me joy during that morning time is morning pages. So I've been getting up at 5:00, which is again later than I used to get up during my running days. Kind of, I don't know, that's to me like feels like the right time to get up. I don't struggle to get up at that time. I am a naturally early riser. And if anything, sometimes I struggle to stay asleep. So I'll find myself waking up before my alarm at like 4:40 and trying to decide what to do with myself. But anyway, I get up at 5 and the first thing I do is I get my coffee. Very, very important. I take my vitamins and my cardiac medicine with my coffee so it can counteract the caffeine, I guess. But I'm actually very, very good about taking my medicine because it's paired with a coffee. I'm not sure I would be otherwise, but it's like, no, I'm not drinking this wonderful cup until I've taken these meds that are sitting right next to it. So that's the first step in my morning routine. And then I sit down and I get out my planner. And the first thing I do is actually refer to the page prior in my main planner, my Hobonichi cousin. And I look to see, are there things I didn't finish that need to be migrated? Because I'm not always so good at doing a formal shutdown. I've gotten better, but I don't always pull out my planner, especially on a clinical day. Sometimes my planner is just still in my bag after the evening because I'm not doing anything productive or structured. So I don't really need it. So I pull that out. I look at the page before, see if there's anything that needs to be migrated. I'll fill in any like blank fields. Like often I have a little box for the number of steps I take per day next to my little workout checkoff part. And I don't usually fill that out until the day after. So things like that. I kind of like finish up the day before's page. And then I take my Mildliners and my pen and I set up my new page with all the kind of elements that I like to have in my daily planning. And then I do my 5-year journal from the night before, which takes 30 seconds. I mean, it is very, very quick for me to do my 5-year journal. And then I've been going straight to the morning pages after that. Then I usually will like read if I have time. I try to get my workout started. It used to be by 6, but honestly, my workouts are shorter right now. So 6:10 or 6:15 is fine. So if I have enough time after the morning pages, I will go ahead and do a little bit of nonfiction reading. Otherwise, I've been moving the nonfiction reading to lunchtime or later in the day. I know. See, our routines and plans can change. We can try things and change them and go back. Anyway, so we've done our morning pages. I do my nonfiction reading if I have time, about 10 minutes worth, and then I go ahead and start my workout. I usually have my workout clothes set out the night before, so I just quickly throw those on, put my headphones on, and then go get my strength workout done. If anyone's curious what workouts I'm doing right now, I am currently enjoying the Caroline Girvan Iron series. It's like strength training workouts. I do modify them a little bit, take a little bit longer rest and a little bit less active time because I don't want my heart rate to be 180 or anything crazy like that. But these are really good and I think effective workouts. I do them 3 or 4 times a week. I do go to Pilates about twice a week. So on those days, things are a little bit different, but not terribly so because usually I don't have to start work until a little bit later or I'm not driving the kids. And so I can kind of get in all of those other elements before I head to my in-person Pilates class. And then that workout is usually done by like 6:45 or 6:50. And then I run into every kid's room. Usually my 13-year-old is already up on her own, but the other kids need a little bit of nudging to get up. And so I wake up my almost 8-year-old. Actually, she'll be 8 by the time this episode airs. So my 8-year-old and I wake up my 11-year-old, kind of drag them out of bed, help them with breakfast, eat a very fast breakfast. Don't really do luxurious breakfast, but I do eat. I usually take a shower while they're finishing and getting dressed. And then my husband and I have a kind of switch off as to who's driving to school. I drive on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and usually on Fridays. And he usually drives on Monday and Thursdays, which are typically my Pilates days. So yeah, that would be my entire morning routine. You will hear that I did not do any like work. Usually I don't. If there's a blog post or something super urgent, then sometimes that would displace one of those other activities, or maybe I'd get up even earlier. But my morning routine is more about, I don't know, life maintenance and enjoyment and things I want to do, plus movement, and then the kids. It's not really when I start getting to work. I do select my tasks for the day. I don't think I did that part justice, but after I set up my daily page, right in there, kind of before I do the morning pages, I look at my week spread and I set my tasks for the day. So sorry, I think I left that out, but that is a key element for me as well. I know this would make a good video. So maybe 2026 goal, I'm aiming for one video per month. I think that's doable. After I recorded my planner stack video on Riverside, I realized it's not the hardest thing to do. So maybe a morning routine video with some coffee graphics will be coming your way. I don't know, maybe in January. We will see. All right, I have one more question to answer that came from Megan. Megan sent it to me via SpeakPipe, which is like an old audio platform I don't use anymore. I don't know if I mentioned that already in the episode, but anyway, it went to spam, but I found it. And she asked for ways to be more consistent actually using her planner. She said she sets it up the month before and sometimes the week ahead, but then she doesn't reference it and kind of forgets about it a couple of weeks in a row. And then she gets really stressed out by holding items in her head. And one of the barriers she has to using it is she's out of the house for like 12 hours per day and very busy. And she really would like to use her planner more next year. So what tips do I have? So of course, I'm not going to blame the planner. People are always like, oh, it's the planner. I mean, the only thing I have to say about the planner is that if it's really big and heavy and that's preventing you from carrying it around, then that might be something to possibly tweak. Or if it's just really not pleasurable to use and doesn't draw you to it, I guess that could be it as well. But to me, it sounds like you do not have routines centered around when you will use it. And this actually goes great with my little morning routine segment we just had, because I would think that there's probably some time of the day, whether it's at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, probably not the middle of the day, because it sounds like you're out of the house all day, but that you would want to just build in some kind of regular planner checking time and to see all the wonderful planning you did for yourself and use that to make your day better and more smooth and not have to hold all those tasks in your head. And it might even be the kind of thing where you reference it in the morning and then you have some kind of on-the-go list, whether it's a little Post-it note or you're using the Notes app or the Reminders app on your phone or Google Tasks, whatever you like to use that's better on the go. But maybe you're pulling those ideas of what you'd like to get done in the day from the planner that you have made the time to look for. So I really think this is so much about routines. And if those routines don't fit, see how you might look at your week to see how they could fit. And if it's more realistic that you'd be planning outside of your home and you're not going to have a paper planner there, then that would be a reason for you to potentially consider going digital in the future. So those are my thoughts. I would also love to hear from anyone else who has tips to share with Megan, because I think it is a great question and a really common dilemma for people. So yeah, feel free to send in your suggestions. All right, this has been a really fun episode answering some December questions. We had our pro tips and our Shop of Spotlight, Department of Note in Doylestown, PA. And you all know how to reach me. As you know, oh my gosh, well, my book is coming out this week. I guess I could have centered the episode around that, but you've probably heard enough about my book already on a bunch of episodes. I'm so excited. It's going to be out officially tomorrow, which means there's one day left to get those pre-order bonuses. You can visit theshoebox.com/preorders to get your name on the list, and you'll receive a free checklist with all the planning methods from the book, as well as an invite to a kind of planning party Q&A that I'm hosting in January on Zoom. So that's going to be really fun. And the book comes out officially tomorrow. So I'm so excited for it to get in people's hands. I'm just like so thrilled. Remember, I'm not on social media. So if you want to share your impressions, feel free to email me. I would love to see pictures of you guys with the book, enjoying it, or feedback you have for the next edition, perhaps. Be nice, though. This is my first book release. I'm not used to reviews. I'm a little scared, but the book is coming out. So excited. All right, I'll be back in your feed next week with some systems discussion for 2026. Have a wonderful week and happy planning.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.